Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto Naruto Next Generation discussion. Today, we have some breaking news for the Boruto time skip, which is officially kicking off in less than 2 weeks under the title Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, but V-Jump magazine has released the Boruto new time skip design yesterday, with Boruto on the cover of the upcoming V-Jump magazine that hits stores in Japan on the 20th. Now, this did come out to us yesterday, but I was unable to make a video on it and bring it to you right away because I've been dealing with the fever for the last 2 days, which thank God. And a note for those of you guys who are creators or even thinking about becoming creators, this is exactly why I have videos done in advance. That way, in case I get sick or if life happens, I have videos that I can upload, because otherwise I'd be screwed if I was one of those creators that edited and uploaded the same day. But now that I'm feeling better, I have a lot that I want to discuss about this new design, because I think it's showing a pattern of what we can expect with Boruto Part 2. If Boruto Part 1 was to be considered the story of parents and children and answering the question of can science and shinobi culture coexist, Part 2 is adding another layer to the story, which is defiance. We discussed this with Sarada's design, how she was openly taking a defiant stance by having the Uchiha crest earrings, despite Sasuke dishonoring the clan in the eyes of many by helping the killer of the Hokage escape, and a few other elements in her design that pointed towards that. But Boruto just took it and put it on steroids with a very bold design change, and it's actually one that makes a lot of sense when it comes to the fact that Boruto is the main character. So previously, Boruto illustrator Mikio Ikimoto had said that he planned on changing Boruto's design for the time skip a few years ago, but when this design was first being made, the one we saw in the flash forward sequence, he said he was just following Kishimoto's instructions, make Boruto look drastically different than how fans last saw him in Boruto the movie, and in an effort to meet those demands, he came up with the design that might have been too hard to draw on a regular basis. This new design in some key areas is actually very simplified. Boruto's hair, for one, is a lot shorter. Gone is the longer hair that we saw from the Boruto flash forward sequence. The shorter hair will make both of those things easier for Ikimoto and his staff of assistants, but when the anime returns, that will save time as well. A simplified design with shorter hair means less focus on making sure there's enough of the bounce element of animation for hair when the overall scheme is being animated. The same with Boruto's face, going from being sharper to having lost some of the baby fat on it but still being a bit round. Basically, Ikimoto's frog face tendencies are still here to stay. It's not something as noticeable as Sarada's design, but Boruto's face here does look like he's a lot closer to 16 years old in a very definitive way. But this design low-key reminds me of how Naruto was after the 2.5 year time skip. Naruto left the village at 13 and he came back 2.5 years later, and he still had some of that babyface look onto him in the manga, but once we got to the Akatsuki suppression arc when Naruto was 16, Naruto's face began to mature, and the manga, as it went on, every 60 chapters ago, there are small changes made to Naruto's facial structure to show that Naruto's aging, and I think this is a sign that Ikimoto is going to take a simpler approach when it comes to Boruto. I think it's going to be something that's going to be very exciting to see unfold, because while I do have issues with Ikimoto as a mangaka, I've never hidden that. However, the talent is there and he's made improvements over the years. However, this is where that defiance angle comes in. Boruto is drawing a direct line in the sand against Kawaki, and he's basically telling everyone that he is the rightful son of Naruto and the rightful grandson of the fourth Hokage. The first thing that stood out to me is on this design was this 2 pair of necklaces. The first necklace makes a lot of sense to keep. That was the bolt necklace, because as we discussed before, Boruto was named to pay homage after Neji. Neji means screw and Boruto means bolt. It's a very clever pun to pay homage to that. So if anyone tells you anything otherwise, that is factually incorrect. This comes directly from the mangaka himself. Now, Boruto is still wearing that bolt in order to pay homage to that history. The second necklace, however, is going to continue to heat up the talk of there being a subtle connection to the Kishimoto one-shot for Minato, which I still think is going to be included in Boruto Volume 21, the same way that Kakashi Gaiden chapters were added to Volume 27 of Naruto. That is a necklace of the Uzumaki spiral, and the title for Boruto Part 2 just happens to be Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. And that's not by mistake. I love that small touch because it's building on the first necklace, showing the understanding of why he's here in the first place, and the second necklace showing that while everyone everyone else might have forgot about Boruto's roots. They think that Kawaki is what Boruto actually is. Boruto still knows his roots are with the Uzumaki clan. We also see more metal attachments to Boruto's design, with the hidden leaf symbol being shown on the inside of his jacket, symbolic for the fact that while the village might have turned itself on him, the fact remains that the village is always close to Boruto, close to his heart. Even when it's not directly over his heart, it's still close by, which is a really nice touch. The same thing applies with Himawari's necklace pendant. Himawari's name was chosen for a symbolic reason as well, meaning sunflower. In Naruto chapter 700, which never got it adapted into the Shippuden anime or in the Boruto anime, we see her placing sunflowers at Neji's grave at Hinata. In the anime, we see Himawari had a sunflower pendant on her academy uniform, which also just happened to be designed by Mikio Ikimoto, the Boruto illustrator, and Boruto just happens to have a sunflower on his jacket, which is another nice nod to his overprotectiveness of his younger sister, having her close to his heart and at the forefront of his mind in terms of her safety. Now, I've gotten a lot of DMs of people saying that, hey, no, this is definitely going to be a nod to Sarada's Mangekyo, but I personally don't think that's the case because Boruto never saw her with her Mangekyo Sharingan. Sure, Sasuke could have picked it out and given it to Boruto, and if that ends up being the case, I'll walk this back, but I think the smart money is on this being a reference to Himawari's necklace, if not the actual pendant for it, or it being a reference to Himawari's namesake. However, for as sick as this new design is, good looking enough that even some of the biggest Boruto haters, who I'm not going to call out by name because I don't get caught up in drama, but even they have admitted that their curiosity's been piqued off of this new design, which that's absolutely huge when it comes to converting people over as fans, because I know for me, a big part of the reason why I even became a Naruto fan was I saw Kakashi's design and I loved it. I knew nothing about the actual story back then. I just thought Kakashi looked awesome and I wanted to learn more about the story itself. So you have that chance here with Boruto. However, that being said, this new design comes with some huge issues. For as good as it looks, it's too detailed, which isn't a bad thing until we consider the anime eventually returning. That's been a problem for Ikimoto as well. His designs are super detailed enough where when the anime does get a hold to them, they start simplifying them in order to save time, which doesn't matter if this is a weekly anime or if Boruto was a seasonal anime. That's always going to be a problem because of how time consuming it is when you have multiple ornaments and belts and necklaces and you have a jacket and an undershirt with a pop collar. When you start implementing elements of animation like squash and stretch and bounce element, pose to pose, slow in, slow out, you have to factor those things in for the animation, which that's going to take up way too much time. And that's before you start adding in things like the karma seal being added onto it. Whereas if you simplify the designs or you start out with a very simple but stunning design, otherwise you end up in situations like we did with, say, Delta in the manga being way more detailed than Delta in the anime. They had to cut corners because of how time consuming doing Delta exactly how she was in the manga would be. It's actually a testament to how talented Ikimoto is when it comes to doing his designs. But at the same time, having more simple designs does come with more benefits if you look at it from an anime perspective, only because that gives the animators time to focus on things that anime fans will suck off daily, which I'm not going to pull punches here. That basically means you have a higher focus on the art and the compositing. That's how you'll have series I'm not going to name that have above average art and above average compositing, but they have episodes with stiff animation and barely any character acting, but you have high compositing and you have pretty art. It's enough to make people scream peak because those people don't know the difference between art and animation. And to show that I'm not biased, you guys know Rurouni Kenshin is my favorite series, and I'll be the first to say this reboot has a ton of moments where I look at it and the original done way back in the 90s has better animation, but this reboot is prettier to look at and does a better job of telling the story as it was in the manga. However, that's only going to be an issue if you care about Boruto's anime having better compositing and art, but you don't care about the animation taking a hit outside of it looking really good with the key fights that you get. But that's the gift and curse with a mangaka as talented as Ikimoto. Now, the last thing that I will say is that I do think you can tell that Ikimoto did have some fun with this design. I still get some JoJo Bizarre Adventure vibes from this, but you can really see more of Ikimoto's flair on this. This feels like something that Ikimoto would have done for chapter 1 if he was given free liberty. Boruto from the flash forward sequence before felt like him trying to do the very thing Kishimoto told him not to do, which is try to mimic his art style. This version of Boruto has more soul to its design and is clearly more well thought out than the design we got in the flash forward sequence. My only worry is, again, when the anime gets a hold to it, it's gonna get nerfed in the same way that Delta looks in the manga versus the anime, Jigen looks in the manga versus the anime, and a few other characters. They got their design changed. Even Sumire, when the anime did switch her to a manga outfit, you could see the small tweaks made to it to simplify it. Hopefully I'm wrong, because I'd love to see Ikimoto's style completely animate like we had in Boruto episode 189, which I'm well aware of how many months that episode actually took to produce, which is why I'll die on the hill saying don't bring back the anime until after the manga wraps up in a few years, and you can do what Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood did, which is just adapt the manga start to finish and have a long enough pre-production period to pay it off, because this new Boruto design deserves to be animated in all its glory. Because when you get something even the biggest Boruto haters are admitting causes them to change up, you're really onto something. And the last thing I want to point out is that Boruto has a gold bracelet on his hand, and the reason why that stands out to me is when you look at Boruto's manga in the past, you've seen Boruto and Shikadai, they've had similar matching black bracelets before, but this bracelet you see here is something that reminds me of something only Naruto manga readers would be aware of, because this was never shown in Naruto's anime. But Naruto had a bracelet of a similar design that was a friendship bracelet for Naruto, Shikamaru, and Gaara. All of them had friendship bracelets. So I'm very curious to see who that bracelet that Boruto has is actually for. Is that a bracelet for Shikadai? That's something to keep your eyes on moving forward. That being said, I'm curious to see how you guys feel about this design. While you think that over, click here to watch these other Naruto Explained videos.